Alright, look, if you haven't already played Resident Evil Revelations or Operation Raccoon City, this is kind of a last-minute review. I guess first I'll talk about Operation Raccoon City and then I'll go into Revelations. But the important thing to understand about both is that Revelations is definitely the better game. However, if you don't have a 3DS already, unless you're like the most die-hard Resident Evil fan there ever was, then there isn't really a reason to buy it. Not that it was a bad game or anything, but I'll go into it when I get to that part of the review. Right now I'm going to talk about Operation Raccoon City. So if you can ignore the staticky stuff in the background, well, let's just get on with this review, okay? Operation Raccoon City came out March 20th, maybe? Yeah, I think that's what it was. It actually came out after Revelations, but I think that I was the only one who had my hopes high for this, because apparently, after talking to everybody else, people seem to, I don't know, after it got a really terrible review from IGN, people were like, oh, we all knew this game was going to be terrible. And, well, they were right, it is terrible. Yeah, to say the least, it's pretty bad. I mean, usually I'll say a game is okay when I think it's bad, but no. I mean, the story was okay. I mean, I thought it would just be fun. It would be like, you know, a guns a-blazing Resident Evil game. You know, you can play with your friends, but there's not even, like, split-screen co-op. There's, like, it's just, you have to play online with people, and if you don't, well, they pretty much punish you for it, because the AI partners are awful. Now, granted, there was a patch recently that made the game better, but the AI still isn't, like, the greatest in the world. Like, let me say this. If you did not like Resident Evil 5 because of Sheva's AI, this game makes Sheva, like, seem like you have, like, a world champion video game player next to you. Those don't even exist, but you get the point, you know? I mean, they're awful. They will sit there and they will let you die. I mean, the only member worth having is, what's her name, Bertha, the medic. You should always have her on your team, because she's not really that reliable, but the thing is, she's more reliable than the other people, because the other people won't do anything for you. If you die, they don't care. Bertha will at least heal you 40% of the time, which is an awful number, especially considering your health goes down really low in that game. And you can only carry like one first aid spray at a time, even if you are the medic yourself, which is just stupid. I haven't played online with people, and I'm assuming, I'm pretty much assuming that it's better with people when you play it online, but, I mean, single player is just awful. I mean, the story, even the story, like I said, I thought it would be cool, but it's really not that interesting. None of the characters are likable or memorable, mostly because, you know, they never, except for Hunk, they never really come back or are mentioned again. It's pretty insufferable, to say the least. I would say, if you're a really die-hard Resident Evil fan, and you have lots of friends you can play with, then you still don't get this game. It's really bad. I mean, I will be honest. I really love Resident Evil. I did not like the first game, but I could still play it because I love Resident Evil. I mean, I didn't think it was a bad game. I just didn't like it. It didn't appeal to my personal tastes. But this game's awful. It really is. I mean, I'm mad that I bought the special edition of the game. It came with, like, a few bonus weapons and, I don't know, like, some patch or something. It was cool, and some collector's 10. But the game was awful. I felt mad. I'm like, I bought a collector's edition for a game that is just plain awful. I mean, it's okay. If I would have rented it from GameFly, I wouldn't have had such a negative impression of it, because it would be like, oh, well, it's not that good, but oh well, I'll just play it, send it back. But I bought it. I own it. I own the special edition. That sucks. It really does. I mean, I would say that at the very most, if you can get a new copy, I would say $20 should be worth. If you can get it used, maybe $5 to $10. I mean, even though it is pretty bad, it's not like the worst game ever made. And I guess the silver lining to it is, okay, there is no silver lining to it, but I would say maybe Capcom learned their lesson, but Capcom doesn't really seem to learn their lesson. They just keep doing it. Yeah, if you really want a multiplayer Resident Evil, I guess this is okay. Like, just don't play single player unless you can get the patch. In which case, still don't play it unless you're super bored and alone. It's just not that fun. I'm sorry. I didn't like it, and I think a lot of people felt the same way. I mean, it's just my opinion, but I really didn't like it. But, you know, that aside, we get to Resident Evil Revelations. I did like that game. But I said in the video, early in the video, it's not worth buying a 3DS for. Unless you are the biggest Resident Evil fan in the world, in which case it probably is, because then you can buy that and the Mercenaries 3D. The Mercenaries 3D was okay. It was fun, but it was like, that's all you gave me for $40. This is a full game, and it comes with its own little tiny Mercenaries mode. It's actually better. It's called Raid Mode. Revelations, I think it takes place between Resident Evil 4 and 5. It's a very Jill-heavy game. She's like the main character, alongside some new guy named Parker. But you also get to play as Chris and his new partner and some other like really slapstick comedic team. Resident Evil Revelations. I guess Operation Raccoon City I give a 4 out of 10 or a 2 out of 5, maybe 1.5 out of 5. Revelations I give about an 8.5. It's really is a good game, and like I said, unless you're the biggest Resident Evil fan in the world, it's the last time I'll say it, it's not worth buying a 3DS for. However, if you do have a 3DS already, then yes, it is worth buying. Definitely, by all means. The only real problem I have with the game was just because, well, it's kind of hard for me to admit this without feeling a little embarrassed, but it was too hard. I mean, I wish they would have like some kind of easier mode, but it was still like fun. And like, the only thing I didn't like is there's only like one infinite ammo weapon, and that's the rocket launcher. But you have to beat it on the hardest difficulty to unlock it. And if you beat it on the hardest difficulty, why would you want an infinite ammo rocket launcher? Usually, people that use those they use it because it's too hard, and that's like the easiest way to win. If you beat it on the hardest difficulty, you don't need that. But I digress. It's still pretty fun. The jail parts are very survival horror-like. It's still over-the-shoulder, action-y, but there's less ammo, less medical supplies, there's more monsters, and even though you do have a partner, he rarely helps you. Most of the time, he'll be off doing something else, and you'll be left to fend for yourself. Like, the Chris parts are more like guns blazing action, where you'll usually have like a shotgun, an assault rifle, and a pistol all equipped, and you can just use them, go in there, and blast everything in your sight. Jill, a lot of times you'll be down to just your pistol ammo. I remember one time I was fighting a boss, and I was down to literally, if I got hit one more time, I would have died. And I had like 3 pistol shots left. So I had to run throughout I had to backtrack through the entire level to find like 2 or 3 green herbs. And maybe like, what? A couple pistol shots and a couple shotgun shells. And I beat her with like the very last shot I had. And it transferred over, and the very next level I was screwed because I was almost dead and I had no ammo. And your partner can't help you. He doesn't just carry things for you or anything like that. You have to fend for yourself. He can't help you. And I think you can play this online with somebody, but I'm not sure about that. It probably would be fun to play online with somebody. maybe Parker would actually be worth something. Again, if you think Sheva was awful, just take a look at Parker. He makes her look pretty good. Revelations was kind of like the perfect game to hold off excitement for Resident Evil 6, but like it pretty much does what Operation Raccoon City fails to do. It makes people excited, but it kind of sucks that the better out of the two Resident Evil games that came out before Resident Evil 6, the one that less people are going to play, the one for the less popular system, is the one that is better. I mean, Revelations is a pretty good game. It's not the best Resident Evil game, but overall it's probably my third favorite. And if you're wondering what my first two favorites are, Resident Evil 5 is my favorite and 4 is my second favorite. It'll probably change. My guess is that 6 will end up being my second favorite, because 5 is just one of my favorite games of all time. I don't think anything's going to pass it as far as Resident Evil goes. It's also my favorite Xbox 360 game of all time, but I know a lot of people didn't like it, but I loved it. Yeah, well, I gave you my opinion on things. Like, Revelations is worth getting if you have a 3DS, or if you're the biggest Resident Evil fan in the world. Okay, I'm saying it one more time. Then you can go ahead and get it. But Operation Raccoon City, even if you are the biggest Resident Evil fan in the world, it's still not going to be that fun. It might be worth having, but it's not that fun. Unless you, like, if you're the... Okay, Operation Raccoon City would be acceptable for someone who is, again, the biggest Resident Evil fan in the world, probably has tons of friends they can play with online, and wants to play a game, I guess, that they think is so awful they want to laugh at. Yeah, so... Also, one more thing about Revelations. I actually paid $50 for it. Originally, it was supposed to be $50 when it came out. But then they dropped the price to $40 for some reason. It was kind of strange, because I was like, oh, so let me get this straight, GameStop. I bought it for $50, and now it's only $40. That's just stupid. But they ended up giving me $10 back when I went to pick it up, because I had pre-ordered it like a month in advance. So I originally wasn't going to get it, but then I decided I was going to. More importantly, I think what's cool about it is if you're a Jill Valentine fan, this is probably a really good game for you, because Resident Evil 6, as far as we know yet, isn't going to have Jill in it at all. So this is kind of nice that it's like one game that's really about her. The only other game in the series that's really about her is like Resident Evil 3 or Resident Evil 1 if you play her story. But other than that, I mean, she actually is the main character of this game. And again, I mean, I like Jill and everything, but Chris is my favorite, you know. So, those are my reviews of them. Revelations, pretty good. Operation Raccoon City, not so much. Alright, thanks guys. If you have different opinions, you can feel free to post comments or video responses or whatever you want to do.